Hi, and welcome back to Tim Tom Talks. I'm Tim, CEO of 4i Leadership in Sydney, Australia.
And I'm Dr. Tom, EVP of the Americas for 4i Leadership in Los Angeles, California, the United States, with the US accent. He's with the British accent.
Okay, are we going to go there? Do I need to explain to people why I don't sound like your regular Australian?
Sure. Who are you, Tim? Tell me about it.
Who am I? Very quickly, I am British, don't you know, but also Australian. I moved here in my mid-20s in 2006 with a suitcase of clothes and a 2-year contract, and I'm still here now, running my second Australian business and married to a wonderful Australian woman with 2 wonderful Australian kids. And just got here late enough in life that I'm never going to sound either, I think, fully like a local or properly British ever again, because my friends in England laugh at me that I sound so Australian, whereas the Aussies, I know, tell me that I will never be Australian fully. So, that's why I sound a little bit unusual. So we just need to move Tom to like London, and then we'll both have like this kind of strange thing. Or Canada would do it. I mean, they're different enough.
And so one of your goals is not to worry about it, right?
Goal accomplished. I moved way past that long time ago, man. Yeah, that's fine.
And that's what we're here to talk about: goals and why they're important for your teams.
So, I mean, this sounds so elementary, and to even sort of, to post articles, to build, training frameworks, to have us here today talking about why goals are important for team performance. I would expect a whole bunch of you either going, next, or duh. But the reason why it's important is essentially because when we're out in the world working with leaders, we see so many very eminently fixable, performance enhancing solutions that come from ineffective goal setting or poorly defined goals, or the fact that the individual or the whole team don't understand what the goal really is or how it links to the strategy and various other areas that we'll get into. So I won't just roll off a whole long list of them.
Well, and this is the reality. You have a vision and mission for the company. You have objectives you're going to hit for the year. Your department is part of that process, and your department has goals to be able to hit those objectives. So you as a team need to know what you're doing and what your goals are that are going to meet that overall objectives, because at that point that makes sense. Makes sense to me, makes sense to you, makes sense to everybody. And if we don't have that alignment, the impact is that people are not going to produce what they need to produce at the quantity they need to produce to achieve the overall goal. So if you don't have clear, smart goals, it's never going to happen.
Nah, look, 100%. And I mean, the SMART goals thing has been around forever. I first encountered it, at uni, in 99. There's various different iterations.
That would be college here in the US.
When I was at college, when I was at uni in Northern England, as was the case. So it's been an established, kind of paradigm for a long time. Make them specific, make them measurable, make them attainable, make them relevant, and make them timely or time bound or time measured, whatever it is. There's been a couple of extensions. Smarter, which includes the goal being ethical and realistic. I personally would say, well, if it's attainable, then it's realistic.
I see those as the same as well.
They're integral, but I fundamentally think that where it would be good to use smarter and have realistic is that we could take attainable and we could make that accountable. Because there's no point having a goal if you're not held accountable to achieving it. And
here's a perfect example of a problem. needs to be attainable, and yet you're accountable. And so often, and the number one area in a business that will make this a problematic achievement is sales.
Sure.
And oftentimes they want to do, sales managers or the business wants to do stretch goals, or they'll come up with goals based on what they want versus what the market will do or the capabilities of the team. So they're completely unattainable, yet you're holding them accountable to achieve those. And again, this is where you're going to run into problems. Your performance is going to go down because they're unrealistic.
I'll give you two examples of clients that we're working with at the moment, just that exactly prove that point. One, a local Aussie firm here, they acquired, a business, which had been underperforming for a while. They've struck gold. It's a great, sort of under-realized asset. They've repositioned it. They've injected some additional energy and a different focus to marketing. And great, first year in ownership, they've had a record year, highest ever revenue. So what do? Good on you, boys. Here's your new stretch target. And it's up here. It's off the chart, right? So now we're going to hold people to achieving that, going off the back of a stretch target, achieving a record result, beating a stretch target, but without including any new investment. So, if you're going to keep stretching a goal, you've got to add resources, you've got to add investment, or at the very, very least, add capability and upskill to keep hitting the stretch goal. Otherwise, you're just going to burn through people and waste the resources you've got and damage the reputation that you've built by achieving those previous stretch goals. The second example, different one, is a goal which is actually not that much of a stretch, but it's been set with a very distal, both geographic and cultural reference, which is just your absolute classic. And it is a global corporate. The goal comes down from on high. We need you to achieve this so that we can hit our overall shareholder return promise. Okay, we get it. That's what corporate life is. But the reality is that the market is in sharp decline here. And you've got 4 big competitors, all global, all with similar products, all with at least equivalent, if not better, resources. And we now need to claw market away from them and grow market share in a declining market to hit that shareholder return. Is that attainable? Is it relevant to our market operations? Well, I would contend clearly not.
What role does the leader play?
Well, look, I think ultimately, the leader at a team level plays the role of making sure that the goals are smart or smarter or whatever, sort of like framework you want to use. And then they help bring the team towards achieving them. And they keep communicating, this is why it's relevant. This is why each individual contribution is important. There's a greater, play afoot here. This is how we're contributing to that global strategy or this private equity, sort of deal. And this is what's in it for you. And then they, bring all of these other cultural markers and they build all of the other team capabilities around them. And we're going to talk about roles next and how goals fold into roles and flow back in reverse. But I think the other thing is that, the leaders need to be making sure that at the very, very least, the goals that are set for them and that they set for themselves are deliverable. Because I think nothing undermines a team's motivation to achieve their goals if they consistently see the leader failing to attain their own.
Absolutely. And then I do want to make the point here, because it's so important and it's what's forgotten. If you work with a remote team, and I'm not talking about just people working remotely, but if you have other offices that are part of your team that need to achieve these overall goals, they need to be so clearly communicated, and they need to understand what their role is in this process. A lot of my research was on virtual teams, and one of the biggest reasons why virtual teams fail is because lack of communication and lack of communication in goals and what their role is in those goals.
Yeah. So again, we started by saying, basically turn this off. You should know this already. And in, relatively short conversation, we've covered a series of examples of how easily this can be done very poorly, but therefore how quickly you can remedy this and how efficiently you can get a different outcome. So look, I think that's a good place to sort of, let it rest for there. Thank you again for your time and attention. Be well, lead well, and let's build a better world. And we'll see you next time when we're going to talk about
roles. And I will say the next time we talk about goals, I'd love to give the example of, I work with Lexus and Toyota, and the Japanese companies have this what's called an A4 process, where everything that you do has to align with the objective. And it's a great way to stay on goal and on task.
Perfect. A4 and roles next time.
Woohoo! Bye from the United States of America.
Bye from Australia.
All right.